I'm back from TIFF for the third time, but this time was a little bit different because this time I had a little thing called a press pass. That's right, this is my first ever major film festival with press accreditation, and let me tell you, it was a very exciting experience. Even just going and picking up the pass is a lot of fun, and you can tell I had a fun time. I'm dressed up with all this TIFF 2024 drip right here. From what I've heard, compared to the other film festivals, Toronto is actually very inclusive when it comes to bringing in new members of the press and giving them top benefits such as red carpets and so on. Once you have one of these, you can get into as many press and industry only screenings at TIFF as you want, which are happening almost every morning at the festival, but they're not guaranteed seats. You have to line up kind of early depending on the movie. One of my friends, I'm not even gonna name him, but he told me that I should line up like 2 hours before for one of the movies that I wanted to line up for because it was going to be such a high demand screening. Yeah, don't do that. Get there 30-40 minutes before and you'll get a wonderful seat. In addition to press screenings, you also get 10 free tickets to any public screenings of your choice. So I saw 19 movies over the course of a week, which is a lot, but I only ended up paying for I think 5 of them. Doing my first ever press screening was really cool. I watched The Substance as my first ever movie on the first day. It was Friday and the festival starts on Thursday, but I had also landed that day and the first screening of The Substance was at midnight, and this is a 2-hour 20-minute movie. Other perks you get from being press include you get complimentary coffee at the Hyatt on King Street, which is the Festival Avenue. You also get free entrance to industry conferences, none of which I went to, but there's sometimes interesting talks. Like this year, Pete Docter was there, the director of Up and Inside Out. And best of all, it's a great conversation starter. Meeting a lot of other press and industry accredited people was a lot of fun. Just asking a lot of people who are wearing tags, what they do, and getting to know other people who are interested in film and the world of it, especially at such a high stakes place like TIFF. You don't need a press tag to start talking to people, but you know, it's a good way to be like, hey, what do you do? I remember last year at TIFF, I had done one day where I was like seeing 4 movies that day, and by the end of that, I was just so drained. So I decided to retire from 4 film days for good. But at one point, doing 3 movies a day, 5 days in a row becomes exhausting. But yeah, it's good to have some room outside of movies to just hang out on the Festival Avenue, which again has food trucks and events and games and whatever you can think of. And spending time with my friends, including from the review outlet that I was accredited for, First Reviews. Shout out Stefano, who was with me on the red carpet. Speaking of red carpets, I got to do my first ever red carpet interview. And I got to be on the 2 red carpets that were at the very top of my wish list. I don't mean like a realistic wish list for someone who's never done red carpets before. I mean a go crazy wish list for all the ones at TIFF. On Saturday, I did my first red carpet, and usually they only let you know a couple hours before. So my friend Stefano, who's in charge of our review outlet First Reviews, would let me know. I would go change into something nice and then get there. My first ever red carpet on Saturday was Eden, the new film with Ron Howard. Not only was Ron Howard there, but so were Ana de Armas, Jude Law, Vanessa Kirby, Daniel Bruhl, and Sydney Sweeney. And I was so excited to be able to talk to these incredible A-list stars, and I got to ask them absolutely nothing. At the auditorium that Eden was screening at is like the biggest red carpets, like the by far the longest ones. So all of the big outlets like TIFF and IndieWire and THR, and I don't even need to name them, always hog each actor with like 10 questions. And so by the time they can get to us, there's no time left. And their publicists just have to like zoom them into the auditorium. Still 10 out of 10 experience. Glad I was there. But the next day I had a lot more luck. The next day I also covered the red carpet of Anora, the new Sean Baker movie which won the Palme d'Or at Cannes earlier this year. And I got to talk to a lot of the actors in the film, including the star Mikey Madison, who you might also know from films like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Scream. Guys, I was so nervous. It was a lovely experience. Sean Baker didn't really have any time left for us, but I was totally cool with that because I got to talk to the lead actress in one of the biggest films at the festival. And though this was my 3rd time at TIFF, I don't think I'll ever get used to seeing actors I love so up close in the same room as me, or directors that I admire. Like, listen, it is surreal hearing Adam Driver's voice in the same room as you. Like, whoever thought that they would get to experience that? That's so cool. Some of the other actors I got to see were Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh at the We Live in Time premiere. The premiere for The Life of Chuck was stacked. Mike Flanagan was there, who I admire so much for his Netflix shows. And Tom Hiddleston was there, Mark Hamill, Karen Gillan, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Stephen King was in the audience and got a standing ovation before the movie even started. I also got to see one of my mom's favorites, Hugh Grant, and the rest of the cast of Heretic at the world premiere of that movie. Amy Adams at the world premiere of Night Bitch. Ron Howard and the cast of Eden once again. The Wild Robot premiere had one of my celeb crushes, Lupita Nyong'o, plus Mark Hamill, Catherine O'Hara, Stephanie Hsu, Kit Connor, Denzel Washington at the premiere of The Piano Lesson, which he produced, plus his sons John David Washington, who's the star of the film, and Malcolm Washington, who directed it, and the incredible Danielle Deadwyler. Zoe Saldana and Selena Gomez were there for Emilia Perez, along with Carla Sofia Gascon and Adriana Paz, who are also in the film, and told a whole story about how he got to shadow write for SNL for a week. I also managed to go to this after party after Heretic on Sunday night, which was a lot of fun, meeting press people and publicists and people who are working in different ways in the industry. But Maria Bakalova was also there because there was an industry screening of her film The Apprentice. I got to say hi, told her I loved her work, told her I was a fan of Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So that was awesome to just see a big star like that at a party. Never really done something like that before. Without further ado, let's get into the movies I saw at TIFF. Some of the best, some of the worst. Let's get the worst out of the way, a couple that I didn't like, and then I'll count down the top 10 of what I saw and did like. First of all, Megalopolis. I talked about how awesome it is to see Adam Driver in person, but the movie I saw before that was not very awesome. None of the actors in this movie are very good, and it's got a lot of amazing people in it. Francis Ford Coppola is trying a lot of weird, out there, daring things, and none of them really hit for me. It was a really hard movie to follow, plot and dialogue wise. None of it made sense. It all just felt laughably awful and really hard to try to enjoy. I just was begging for it to end at one point. But again, it was cool to see Francis Ford Coppola. He came out before the movie and got a standing ovation because of the legend that he is. And then he, Adam Driver, and Nathalie Emmanuel were thereafter for a Q&A. Another one I wasn't big on was Queer, the second of Luca Guadagnino's 2024 movies. This one has Daniel Craig as an American man in Mexico who wanders around and eventually starts a relationship with a much younger man. After a great first half hour or so, this one really started to bore me. Eden, yes, I know I did the red carpet for it, and it has a stacked cast and a legendary director like Ron Howard, but ultimately the movie itself, not very good. It's a movie that thinks it's historically big and really defining about humanity, but it's so on the nose about its themes. And by the time it ended, I was like, oh, really? That's all we got from this? The End is a movie about the last family after the apocalypse living in a luxurious underground bunker / home. And it's a really fascinating movie at first because it's so out there and so not like any other movie I've ever seen, but it makes the huge mistake of being a musical, and that sort of takes away all the darkness about humanity and its characters that it needed. I can't say I'd recommend this one, but I was definitely intrigued watching it. And now let's get into my top 10 favorite movies that I saw at TIFF. Number 10 is The Order. This is a movie directed by Justin Kurzel and stars Jude Law as an FBI agent in the 80s trying to track down a white supremacist leader of this cult named The Order, played so well by Nicholas Hoult. He's equally charismatic and down to earth, but also deranged and terrifying, and it has this messianic complex. It's a great cat and mouse game with some really great violence and atmosphere building. The score is really good. Journey Smollett and Ty Sheridan are really good in it too. It's a great watch for anyone who loves a good crime movie. Number 9 is Saturday Night, a really, really fun movie about the beginnings of SNL and how messy and chaotic and destructive those last 90 minutes were before the airing of the first ever SNL episode. And the all-star cast, including Gabrielle LaBelle, Rachel Sennett, Lamorne Morris, J.K. Simmons, Willem Dafoe, Dylan O'Brien, are all so much fun. Number 8 is The Substance, a really, really graphic horror movie about a faded movie star who has decided to take this substance that'll let her live as a younger version of herself every other week. And Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley are both excellent, and they have this great sort of game of tug-of-war with who gets to live what. The direction is really stunning, and best of all, if you're a fan of body horror, this movie is constantly gory and terrifying and disturbing, and all the more fun for it. Number 7 is The Wild Robot. I think this is one of DreamWorks' strongest movies in years. Lupita Nyong'o and the rest of the voice cast is terrific, but the animation is really what brings this world to life. And the story, I'm not gonna act like it's the most unique story for an animated movie, but the visual storytelling and the way you end up connecting with the characters just becomes more and more beautiful as the movie goes on to an amazing final act. Number 6 is The Life of Chuck, the movie that actually won the People's Choice Award at the festival this year. If you love Mike Flanagan, this one is less big on his horror thriller genre elements, but still his heart in his other works is very much intact in The Life of Chuck. It's a movie that confronts our mortality, but with a lot of optimism and love for the humans that inhabit this world and the people that shape us. The structure is really interesting, and the cast is all very good. Number 5 is Baby Girl, directed by Helena Rain. As I've told you before in this video, I loved her last movie, Bodies, 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 so I had to check this one out. Nicole Kidman and Harris Dickinson are at their A-game in this one, as a CEO and an intern who start a very taboo relationship. But Helena Rain's direction is what makes the movie so entertaining. The blend of satirical themes about power dynamics, cringe comedy, some amazing soundtrack choices. Number 4 is Conclave. Who knew a movie about cardinals at the Vatican trying to choose a new pope could be so interesting? Ralph Fiennes gives one of his best performances. He needs to get nominated for an Oscar for this movie. Everything about it is really thrilling, not just because of the performances, but also because of the battles of morals and wit and values. And Edward Berger's style, including the amazing score, really elevates the film into one of the year's most outstanding movies. Number 3 is Emilia Perez. This is such a special and incredible experience. It'll either completely work for you or it'll just confuse you as to why it was made. It's a musical, it's a drug crime thriller, it's got everything. Zoe Saldana blew me away, the musical numbers blew me away, the sheer emotion and craft and just this purely original story and how it's so passionately brought to the screen. I thought it was amazing. Number 2 is Anora, a movie that's continuing to play really well since it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes. This is Sean Baker's most movie, if that makes sense. And Mikey Madison is absolutely fantastic in it. The way the movie balances genres and manages to be about so many things and really surprise you and break your heart throughout, I just can't recommend it enough. And the number 1 best movie I saw at TIFF this year is The Brutalist. Not even a movie I was planning on watching when I landed in Toronto, but I heard so many good things about it, and still I was like, no, this is 3.5 hours. How am I gonna do this when I'm at a film festival and watching all these different movies? Anyway, my friend ended up not being able to make it to his screening of it, so he gave me a ticket, and I went, and I was absolutely blown away. By the way, the runtime flies by. Adrian Brody is, I never thought he'd be able to reach the heights that he did in The Pianist, but he's so amazing here. It's such a powerful movie about life after the Holocaust and what the American dream really was like for immigrants. But it's about so much more. It's about time. It's about America. It's about the relationships we hold on to. Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones are also amazing in it. And it's directed by Brady Corbett, who I have not really seen anything from, but it feels like a movie that's been in the works for decades, even though he only really started working on it a couple years ago. Absolutely be on the lookout for it this award season because it is an incredible and moving masterpiece. Anyway, those were the best movies that I saw this year at TIFF. Hope you found something to add to your watch list. Besides that, I want to thank everyone who I hung out with and spent time with this year on the TIFF Festival Avenue. I want to say a special thanks to Stefano Bove, who helped make this possible, and the rest of the team at First Reviews. You guys are all amazing. The rest of my friends, everyone else who I met. And thank you again for watching. Check out some interview content and red carpet stuff that me and the rest of our team have done at First Reviews, by the way. And stay tuned for more right here on this channel.